This is a treat, but we're very happy that you're all here. I'm David Skidmore. I'm a professor here at Drake and director of our Center for Global Citizenship, which is hosting tonight's event.
People are looking for another way to look at this, another way to look at the conflict. And the work Dawood does and so many other groups is about nonviolent resistance to occupation, to human rights violations, and how do we work together.
My name is Dawood. Dawood is David, and I was born in Bethlehem. So it was always a very nice name for me, David from Bethlehem. As you know, the Holy Land is a very important land for tourists, and many tourists are coming to visit this country. But most of the tourists who are coming to visit the country are walking from one dead stone to another, taking pictures without interacting with the living stones there. So I was working in the field of tourism at the beginning, organizing alternative tours for tourists who are coming to visit the country. And the idea is like to bring them in touch with the local people, with the living stones of the country, both Palestinians and Israelis, Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Since 2001, we are developing a project on the land that belongs to my family, which is called the Tent of Nations. Palestine, Israel is always like a country of conflicts, problems, and we are not expecting to solve this conflict tonight. But I think it's very important for us to understand what is really happening there. The country was always under occupation. The Ottomans were there over 400 years, and then Palestine was under the British mandate until 1947. Then there was a plan to divide the country into two states, one Arab state for the Palestinians and one Jewish state. And this plan did not work for so many reasons. In 1948, the establishment of the State of Israel. For the Palestinians, it's called the catastrophe, al-Nakba, because this situation left over 700,000 Palestinians without a home, and they are living, most of them still living in refugee camps in the West Bank, in Gaza, and in the Arab countries. And between 1948 and 1967, the West Bank was under the Jordanian rule, and from 1967 until today, under the Israeli occupation. That the land that belongs to my family, the land was bought in 1916 by my grandfather, and my grandfather came with his family from Bethlehem, and they used to live in a cave on the property. And the land is located southwest of Bethlehem on a nice hill, which is about 3,000 feet above sea level. From there, with a nice view to the west, and sometimes we see the Mediterranean. So this is a picture of the family during the Ottoman period. This is my grandfather Dahir, his son Bishara, my father, my uncle Naif, and Sliman. They came with their mother and they stayed in a cave on the property. It was very important for my grandfather to create a new existence for his family, for his children, because he wanted his children to be devoted to the land. And both my father and uncles, they grew up loving this land, and they started cultivating the land with the help of their father, and they changed this property into a small paradise. So we have papers, we have the deeds from the Ottoman period, from the English mandate period, from the Jordanian period, and from Israel. It shows that we are the owners of the land. And in 1991, we got a paper from the Israeli authorities says your land is a state land and the land does not belong to you. So we are the only family who went to the court, to the military court at that time, because we have the papers. We are surrounded by 5 Israeli settlements from all sides, and the biggest one is from the western side, which is called Bitar Elit. They want to confiscate our area in order to establish on the only hill that is still under Palestinian control a new settlement. The big obstacle we are facing now as Palestinians, and I can say as Israelis too, is the wall. because the wall is built totally on Palestinian land, and as Kathleen said, this wall is separating Palestinians not from Israelis, but Palestinians from their own land and Palestinians from Palestinians. We are located here between the settlements and the Palestinian village, and very soon the wall will be completed there, and the only access to our area will be a tunnel under the Settlers Road, under Road 60, and this tunnel will be totally under Israeli control. But for us, we said from the beginning, we are not reacting in a violent way. We want to resist in a non-violent way. We are not resignating, and we are not giving up and leaving the area. So we created another option, which is our fourth option, which is we refuse to be enemies. We put this stone at the entrance of our farm because we don't want to be an enemy to anybody. We want to be outside of this circle. It's very easy to be an enemy there. And everyone is saying, you know, the Israelis are our enemies, or the Palestinians are our enemies. But we want, this is our message, we want the people to understand that we are not the enemies. And we started to invest our frustration in a constructive way. We created the Tent of Nations there. Under the slogan, we refuse to be enemies, because we want the Tent of Nations, we want the farm to be open for people to come from different nations and cultures, religions, together, to bring people together, to build bridges of understanding, of reconciliation and peace. We want to build a bridge between land and between people and people, because land is an important issue in our struggle. And this is the meaning of our Tent of Nations, to build a bridge between land and between people and people. So, but we wanted to move out of this frustration circle, and we wanted to invest our frustration in a constructive way. We are not allowed to be the victims. We don't want to play the victim role. We want to prove that things are possible, even it's very, very hard. Of course, on my own land, as a Palestinian, I have no access to running water, no electricity, and no building permit. So how can I develop my land without these three basic things? We have volunteers coming from all over the world, all the year around. So we have volunteers coming and staying for 1 week, between 1 week and 13 months. And also, we are trying with this example to invite people, young people, to show them that things can function. Why to be frustrated? You know, if there is no electricity, we have another way of getting electricity. And also to encourage people to do the same, and also to study this, because most of our young people, they are doing their high school education and going to the universities, but at the end they leave the country. So we want the people to stay there, and solar power system or alternative energy, generally speaking, like wind power, could be an alternative for our country. And for us, it's very important for everyone to understand the situation and not to be on one side. We need the people to understand the story from both sides and go back home and ask this question, what can I do now? I don't want to argue with the history. Sometimes, you know, some Palestinians and Israelis are saying, who was first? We were first, and you came, you know. And always it's a discussion. We have in Arabic a saying, an example. An old man was planting an olive tree. And his grandson passed by and he said, why are you planting this tree? You will never eat from its fruits, because the first fruits might come in 10 years or in 15 years. But he said to him, our grandparents and parents, they planted for us these trees, and we are harvesting the fruits now. And we have to do the same for you, for the new generation. And it's very important for us not to live to stay in our circle. We have to act, not for our sake, but for the sake of the new generation. That's why we are trying always to invest in the new generation. And I can say our work will continue. Thank you.